So you're binge watching PhD tips videos. This probably isn't the first one you clicked on. It's probably not going to be the last, but hopefully I can share with you some of the things that I learned during my PhD that might be able to help you. Tip number one, be organized. You have to be organized from day one. You can use Evernote or ReadCube or Papers or Mendeley or any kind of software which organizes your PDFs, but you have to use something from day one. If you wait until year 3 or year 4 and you think, oh yeah, there was that paper that I read 3 years ago in my first year, that would be really good to reference right now, you're never going to find it. It's going to be a struggle. You need to stay organized from day one. It will make your future life so much easier if you just pick some kind of software and go with that from now on. Personally, I use Papers to sort my literature and old student theses. I think it was bought out by ReadCube recently, but there is some software from ReadCube/Papers that is still good. I would recommend it. I wouldn't recommend using the same software for organizing your papers and for referencing. So I know a lot of them do that. Mendeley, for example, you can organize all your PDFs in there and you can reference using a Word plugin. However, it is okay at both of those things. It's not fantastic at both. Personally, I used the ReadCube software, the Papers ReadCube software, which is really good at organizing, but not at referencing. And then I used EndNote to do the referencing, but not the organizing or storing of PDFs. So I used two different systems. That's what worked for me. But the tip here is stay organized from day one. Tip number 2, back up your data. For the love of God, back up your data from day one. If you've just started and you're thinking, I've only been doing this for a few months, my data's not that important, what are the odds that something's going to happen? If you think that, it's going to happen. You have to back up your data. Right now, back up your data. You can use cloud software. So we're talking Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive, iCloud, anything like that. That is a good basic way of backing up and having version history. If you have an Apple computer, you can use Time Machine so that you get the version history as well as the backup, or you can just use an external hard drive. Lastly, if you're doing a PhD which creates a lot of data, you can use a NAS server, so a home server to back up large amounts of data. Ultimately, this is the most important tip. You need to back up your data right now, not after something's happened, not thinking, oh, it won't happen to me, because I've heard horror stories of even just laptops being stolen with a thesis on it, only copy of the thesis, and they didn't get it back. You have to back up your data. If you're watching this right now, and you have PhD data, doesn't matter if you're in your final year or day 2, back it up now. You have to back it up. If you don't want to go too in depth with backing up, but you do want to have that backup, I would go to Dropbox, pay monthly or yearly, I think they do a student discount, and just sync all your files to Dropbox so that if something happens to your hard drive or your computer, you can always back up from the cloud. I do believe they do a student discount, but I understand not everyone has the money for it. Alternatively, talk to your university. There's a good chance that you can get a terabyte free from OneDrive, in which case, utilize that. Tip 3 is to treat the PhD like a 9-to-5 job. This isn't always possible, because it isn't a 9-to-5 job. You will have to work late evenings, nights, weekends. As much as you can, try to treat it like a Monday to Friday 9-to-5 job. It's important to have that work-life balance. If you try to work too many hours too early to try to get ahead, you will eventually burn out, say halfway through your PhD, at which point you won't be able to do much work and you'll lose that time anyway. Not only that, but you're much more likely to get stressed or depressed if you're working too many hours. If you can, have a morning routine. Try to start work at 9. Treat it like a normal work day. Have your lunch, do your work, and if you can, finish on time. And then I know it's easier said than done because I've been there and it doesn't work like that in real life. But as best as you can, try to put the PhD to the back of your mind and don't think about it after work. It's so important to have a social life, to have hobbies, to see your family, to do non-PhD related things outside of the PhD. In the long run, treating the PhD like a job is beneficial, even if you feel that you can be more productive by working more hours. That unfortunately will happen in your final year when you need to pump that thesis out. So at least before then, try not to work too many hours. Tip 4, networking. It is extremely important while you're in this position as a PhD student or PhD candidate to talk to as many people as you can. So network with other students, be that undergrad, master's, PhD, network with postdocs, network with supervisors, lecturers, go to conferences, talk to other groups, talk to other universities, talk to companies. This is the time where you will have access to people from a lot of different areas, slightly different research niches, and this is when you need to take advantage of that. I understand that when you go to a conference, it can be a little bit weird at first if you're not used to networking, to just walk up to someone, introducing yourself and saying, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from this group. I really liked your talk, I really liked your work," and then try and chat. But it's completely normal. You'll get used to it. It might be a bit awkward at first, but you need to get used to walking up to people, especially at conferences, introducing yourself and getting your name out there. It's very important, especially if you want to have an academic career afterwards. But even if you don't, talking to companies at conferences can get you that in that you need to get your first job after your PhD. So networking is extremely important. Tip number 5, final tip. Ask stupid questions. And you might think, I've always been told there's no such thing as a stupid question. That's not true. There are stupid questions, but sometimes it's okay to ask stupid questions if it facilitates getting that information, that knowledge quicker. If you're in the first year of your PhD and you don't know something that seems like it would be obvious to everyone else, just ask. Get over that embarrassment and just say, "Look, I've not done this before. I know it's really obvious, but could you just tell me how to do it?" 5 minutes, you'll find out how to do it instead of spending all that time dicking around, and it will save you a lot of trouble. So ask stupid questions. If that means you have to find someone that you trust, that you feel won't judge you, maybe that won't be your supervisor, but if you can find a postdoc or maybe a second year PhD that has just gone through what you're going through in your first year and asking those stupid questions, then that is a huge benefit to you. There are people in the final years of their PhD that still don't know some very basic things from their first year because they were too scared to ask and they haven't found out themselves. That might not be a problem initially to get their work done, but in the Viva, if a basic question comes up and you can't answer it, then that is going to be a problem. So get used to asking stupid questions early, find someone that you can confide in, and try to get over any embarrassment that you might have and just ask the question. Because in a year's time, no one is going to remember that stupid question you asked, but you will have that knowledge so much quicker. So ask stupid questions. Hopefully those tips were useful. Consider subscribing if you want more content like this. And why not consider watching my personal PhD journey in this video?